In this video, we're going to talk about some of the new ORD tools along with some of the survey tools and parcel tools that we have available to us. We're going to be working, in this case, in the training sandbox, and we've got a roadway data folder. That's where we're going to be currently working, and we're going to open up the civil geometry file, and we're going to create an alignment in there using some of the new tools. So let's go ahead and open that up. Okay, once that file opens, it should have some civil geometry already drawn in there, along with a terrain model referenced in. You should see that come up. Okay, you can see our terrain model out here, and then we have some civil geometry already in it. The first thing I want to do is I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that our terrain model is active. So I'm just going to left click on the terrain model, which is our green outline here, get the heads up display, and just make sure that it is active. If it's not active, it'll have a little red circle in here, and you just have to select it to make it active. Okay, making it active will give us existing ground profiles and different things along with the civil tools. What we're going to try and do is draw in a little alignment that runs north up here. North of this ramp 2, and we're going to use the complex geometry to do that, along with feature definitions to create that, and Civil Accudraw. So the first thing, when you come in here, you may not have this feature definition toggle bar turned on, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that off so we can see how to bring that back. We're going to go into the geometry tab. So right now I'm in survey, so let's make sure that we're in survey. Okay, this is also in the open road modeling, exactly the same. We're going to do the survey one. And then underneath survey, we've got home, which has our attached tools for referencing. It's also got our ability to set up our coordinate system, which we're going to do a little later. It's got some field book information. You can analyze some of the information on here. Some of your measuring tools are under analyze. The one we're going to look at is geometry. So go ahead and find geometry. And that feature definition toolbar that we need to pull out is located underneath the general tools and under standards. So if we go to the standards pull down, we got feature definition toolbar. We can go ahead and left click on that, and that will open it up. Now this one may look different on your screen. It may have cut off some of these icons. We've seen that on some of the smaller laptops. It will shrink the size of these icons. But this is what the toolbar should look like. On the left hand side, you have the ability to use the active feature definition. So you'll want that turned on if the items that you draw need to have a feature definition applied to them. So we're going to go ahead and turn that on by left clicking on it. Our feature definitions are set up a little differently than they used to be. Now when you expand that, you've got alignment and then linear elements in here. So alignment is broke out just underneath the alignments. And if you want to have stationing and tick marks already annotated for you, you're going to want it to be one of these three. We're going to go ahead and create an existing one. So we'll do a MoDOT baseline existing. We'll select that. So now anything I draw will become that feature definition. Out to the right, most of these tools are the same. There is one different one that I want to touch on here, and that is the automatic annotation. So if you go ahead and turn that on as well, anything that we draw will draw the tick marks and the stationing. It'll put in the curve data information if we have a curve. All you do is just turn that on, and it automatically knows how to draw that in. Okay, where we're going to start drawing from is going to be right at the end of this ramp, right at the very top. And we're going to draw in an alignment that goes from south to north. So when we do that, our stationing is also going to run from south to north, and we're going to want to flip that around, and we're going to use a new tool to do that as well. So let's try to get that alignment in there. So first thing we're going to do is, and you kind of want to do it in this order because Civil Accudraw needs to know what tool you're going to use the first time you start it up, and it will expand out the abilities to pick different options. So let's go up to the horizontal, Then we'll go to Civil Geometry, and we're going to do complex by PI. So this one will allow us to click in our start location, a PI, and put in a curve, and then an end PI. That's what we're going to try to do. So complex by PI, and that should pull up the dialog that we need. And let's look in that dialog real quick. The radius that we're going to want to place on this one is going to be 900. So let's go ahead and click in the radius, give it a 900, and hit the enter key. That means whenever I come out and draw my line, when I create the PI in here, it's going to give us a 900 foot length curve, or radius curve. Okay, at the bottom of that, we've got baseline existing as our name. We may change that here in just a minute. But the next thing I want to do then is I want to turn on Civil Accudraw. So I've got the 900 foot radius in there. Let's go down and turn on Civil Accudraw. That should be down here at the bottom of the screen. It looks like this round compass. Okay, you can leave it docked or you can undock it, whichever you want. If you want to undock it, you just move over the dots on the left and you slide it out onto the screen. We'll do that just to kind of show you where it's at. And then we're going to turn on Civil Accudraw. And all you do is left click on Civil Accudraw and it will turn it on. I've had it in the past where when you click on Civil Accudraw, it will reset the name over here as well. So that's why I turn on Civil Accudraw first. Now we can go over into the name, and I'm going to change that name to ramp underscore, and you don't have to have underscores in these unless you're going to ship them out. Ramp underscore north, and we'll hit enter on that. Okay, just got to remember what that name is, ramp underscore north. Then we're going to come out here and we want to go from the end of this arc on ramp 2 and go up. So all we have to do is go to the end of that ramp and we'll get the little golden X, which allows us to snap to that. So just move over the top of it. You'll also notice that our Civil Accudraw has added a couple of other entries. Right now mine's set at station offset. Yours might be set at an XY. We're going to change that here in just a second. So let's go ahead and snap to the end of that arc. So get right on it and just left click. Now it's wanting to come off of that, and right now it's looking for a station and offset. And we don't want a station and offset, we want to do a distance and direction. So we're going to come out here at a certain distance and a certain direction. So if you look in your Civil Accudraw box, the circle with the little red arrow inside of it is your distance direction option. So let's go ahead and left click on that. Once you left click on that and you move out to the screen, now you've got a different looking compass, and you've got a rubber band effect showing a distance and direction. It should put you in that distance field. If it does not, you can hit the tab button to go down into distance. And we're going to go ahead and put this first leg in here and just follow along and do it in this exact manner, and you should have no trouble. Our distance, we're going to put in 500, and then we're going to enter. You don't want to put in 500 and move it around. It'll change that number for you. So just type 500 and enter. Once you do that, move your mouse around a little bit and you should get a blue arc out there that's 500 foot. So it just wants to know now what direction. And it automatically puts you in the direction field. And we're going to go north 33 west. So we're going to keep it simple here. We're just going to hit the letter N for north, 33 degrees. So we'll just type 33 and then W for west. So that's all you have to type in the direction, and we'll hit enter. So that locks you in. You move your mouse around. Now it's got the blue locking. Nothing's rubber banding anymore. Okay, 500 foot, north 33 west. Left click to place it. Okay, now don't do anything else. It's wanting to put in that 900 foot radius and an end point out here. So it's looking for that next PI. And since we have the 900 in there, it knows how to put that radius in. Now for this one, our distance is going to be 1,000, so just make sure you're in the distance field. Key in 1,000 and hit enter. If you move your mouse around, it should lock you in at that 1,000. Okay, and it goes and takes you to the direction field. So all you have to do is just move around a little bit and it'll take you to the direction field. Now on this one, We're going to go north 66 west. So in the direction we type in an N66 W. Once we type that in, don't move the mouse or anything, just hit the enter key and it will lock you in there. Move your mouse around a little bit now and it locks you in. You can see it, it's putting in the 900-foot curve. All you have to do is accept that with a left click. So we're just going to go out on the screen, left click, and it will put that point in there for you in that line. Now we're done with this. Okay, it can allow you to keep doing this as much as you want, but we're going to right click then and finish that out. And once you do that, it will go ahead and create the alignment, give you the stationing, and give you all the tick marks that go along with it. It'll also label your bearings and label your curve data information. That can all be moved. It's just placed in there right now, so you can move that information around if you need to. Okay. So now we can get out of that. We can either go hit the element selection tool or hit F4 on our keyboard and get out of that tool. Okay, once we've got that alignment in there, it's actually going the wrong direction. 0 is down here and it goes north for its stationing, and we want to flip that around. We want to change the direction of that. So there's a new tool in the program called transpose. Now, transpose actually makes a copy of the element that you select out here and puts it underneath of it. So if you hover over the alignment that we just created, it should give you the name of it. The name of that is, you can see in the upper left there, complex element ramp north. Ramp underscore north is the name of that alignment. So just kind of keep that in mind. This is, we're going to actually get rid of this alignment once we transpose it, so we have to remember the name of it. So let's go ahead and try to do that tool. It's still under the survey, still under geometry, and we're still in the horizontal tools. But we've got the modify options. Let's expand out modify, and we'll go to transpose element. Okay, modify, transpose element. We move out on the screen. It's a pretty simple process here. It says locate the first element to transpose. So we're going to go out and left click on that ramp north. And we're going to move off of it, and it says locate the next element to transpose. So you can continue doing this, or if that's the only one we want to do, then we can right click in a blank area. And then it says accept the transpose selected elements. And we want to do that, so we will left click in a blank area. It may flash a little bit for you, kind of see it's doubled up a little bit. If you move over the top of that, on mine it picked the ramp underscore north 1. You can see that it is labeled at that. If you move over the top of it and you get the ramp north 1, you can right click and you continue to right click and you'll get the ramp north. So you can see that you've got the two there. Now it's kind of hard to pick that ramp north or the old one to get rid of. So we've been showing folks that if you go over to the Explorer over here on the left hand side, I'm just going to drag it out a little bit. So we've got Explorer. If you don't have Explorer over there, you can go to the Home tab and pick on Explorer. So that's where it's located if you don't have it on the left hand side. By default it is over on the left hand side, so I'm going to expand that out. And what we want to look for is not the Open Roads standards. We want to close that up. We're going to look at the Open Roads model. The Open Roads model shows everything that's actually in this design file. So we're going to expand that out. We can see that this is the file we're in, Civil Geometry, so we're going to expand that. We have created alignments. There's several alignments in here, so we're going to expand out alignments. The one that we have been working with has been this MoDOT baseline existing, so we'll expand that. And you can see now we have two of them in here. We have a ramp north and a ramp north 1. The ramp north is the original one that we drew. The ramp north 1 is the one that has been transposed. So we need to get rid of this ramp north up here at the top. So we're just going to right click on that and hit the delete option. Now all we have is this one alignment that we drew out here, and it should look just like mine. It doesn't have any stationing or tick marks or anything like that. Okay, but it's been transposed, and we're going to find out how to relabel that right now. So in the Survey tab again, and this is also the same as in the Open Rows Modeling tab, we can go to Drawing Production. Okay, so find geometry. Just to the right of that is Drawing Production. There are several tools in here we're going to look at through this process. The one we're looking at right now is the Element Annotation. So you can do the down arrow on it if you want to, or you can just pick the A with the arc on it. Your icons may look slightly different depending on the size of your monitor. But we're going to pick this Annotate Element. The Annotate Element box pulls up another dialog box. You can annotate all of your alignments by putting a checkbox in this, or you can override an annotation group. I'm just going to go ahead and turn that off for right now. If you don't want the one that comes with the program, you can try and locate a new one just by turning that on and then hitting the triple dots and trying to find a different annotation group. For alignments like this, you don't need to override it. There's just the one that we have. Now it's going to be based on the scale that we have at the bottom. So we have a 1 inch equals 100. Anything you change that to, even if I go ahead and click on it now, you can go back and change this later and it'll automatically update. Okay. So if I move out on the screen, it says locate the elements. I'm going to go ahead and select our alignment that we have out there, the ramp north 1. I'll left click on it. And it says reset to complete. So I'm going to go ahead and right click then at that point in a blank area, and it will go ahead and place my new stationing on there. So now the stationing runs from north to south like it should, and we have a PC and a PT out there. Okay, so everything else is the same. All it did was basically flip that alignment the direction that it was running. Okay, now we have our alignment in here. What we want to do next is create some survey information. And we're going to do that in a different file. The Civil Geometry file is mainly just for alignments and profiles. So we're going to create a brand new file and call it Land Boundary and the job number. So what we're going to do is come up to the File pull down menu. We're going to do a New. Once we pick on New, it should bring up the No Wizard. You can turn this off if you want. We don't use Wizard, but we'll just do No Wizard and say OK. And our seed files are now pretty much built into the system. We don't have to search for them as much as we used to. The land boundary file is going to be a 2D seed file, so we can just leave it as it is as it comes up. And we're going to swipe through the MoDOT roadway seed 2D. And we're going to name this land underscore boundary underscore J5P 3181. Okay. So this land boundary file can have your right-of-way information, parcels, points, whatever you want in it, dealing with land boundary information. So we're going to say OK to that, and it's going to open up that brand new blank file. And we can check in our civil geometry that we just created. And it will create this new file for me in our data directory. First thing I want to do is I want to set up the coordinate system. You can see in the lower right hand corner that there's no geographic coordinate system assigned to this drawing. So there's a little world with a red X on it. We're going to turn that to a green check mark. The way we do that is underneath the survey pull down again. At the top we've got home. We've got coordinate system, which is the world option over to the right hand side at the top. We're going to left click on it. If you have a project that already has drawings with a coordinate system set up in it, you can pick the drawing and it will go ahead and use whatever coordinate system is in that drawing. So that's what we're going to do with this file option. You can also pick one from the known lists that we have out there, but I'm going to pick it from a file. So we're going to go over and find the one with the folder on it, left click. And in there, it's going to go out, and I'll have to drag this over here. And we're going to have to go back and search for my folder. This is the first time I've really done anything in this folder, so you have to go to your directory. that you're working in currently, which I'm working in this job number roadway data, and I should have the civil geometry. We've got our new land boundary we're working in, so I'm going to pick that civil geometry file, and we'll hit open on that. Okay, that lists all the models and what coordinate system they have assigned. So we're going to do that first one, the default, and it will set it up in this drawing for the same geographic coordinate system. And you can see in the lower right, we've got the world with the green check mark, so we are good to go. That will set us up in the right coordinate system. If we bring in Bing maps or anything like that, it should line up properly to where we're at and have all the other drawings come in at the right location. So we're going to go ahead and close that. Now we want to reference in that civil geometry file we just drew up and the terrain model. So to do that, we're still under the survey home. There's an attach tools here. You can do the down arrow if you would like to, and go to references. The references dialog should pop up. And what we're going to do is just do a tools, attach. We'll wait for that to pop up. Got that here as well. And we want the civil geometry and the terrain file. I just held the control key down to grab both of those, add those in, say OK, and we're not doing any nesting or anything like that with this one, so we should be able just to hit OK on both of those. Alright, our reference dialog, we're going to go ahead and close that out, and we'll do a fit view inside the window. So now we have what looks like the same file we were in a while ago. This is the land boundary file. In the land boundary file, we're going to put some points in, and we're going to put in a parcel. And we're going to do it right around in this location here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into the geometry tools again. So under survey again, we're going to slide over to geometry and pick that one. Move these things over. We are going to be using some Civil Accudraw again here in a moment. The tools that we're going to use out of this one are going to be the point tools. So if you do the drop down on point, the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to store a point at a known location, which is going to be at 5 plus 0, 0 on this alignment, and we're going to be at 55 foot right. So we found a pin possibly there at right away at 5 plus 0, 0, and we're going to put that point there. So let's do that real quick. We're going to go to the point option, the very first one underneath there. Okay. Inside of here, this dialog is a little different than it was previously. We have the ability to place an elevation on this point based on the terrain model if we want. We can base it off of a plan element, so if it's got a profile on an element, you can actually use that elevation based on that alignment. Or you can key in a value, or you can have none. In this case, just to show you how it works, we're going to do the name terrain model mesh. We don't have anything in this list, but we can select it when we're asked. Okay. If you had made this terrain model active, it would show up in the list. Rotation, you can have this set to where you can rotate the point if need be. Typically, we'll just leave it at this north 90. And you can check that turned on, and then you can just accept it when you place it. The feature definition, you may not have a feature definition here currently, so we're going to hit that feature definition drop down. And the one that we want is going to be underneath the point and design. We're going to go to drafting standards, miscellaneous, and we're going to slide down to Kogo point. Once you pick Kogo point, it's going to name it Kogo point. Okay, here in a moment we're going to change that name to a number. But what I want to do is with Civil Accudraw, I want that turned on, and I want to set it to station and offset. So instead of having distance direction, we're going to go just to the right of that and do station offset. All right, then we're going to move on the screen and try to follow the prompts that it asks us for. First it says select a train. model. So if I zoom out, I can select this terrain model as the one we're going to base the elevations on. So I can left click it. We can be above or below it. A negative number will put it below the active surface or the existing ground, and then a positive number could put it above. We'll just leave it at 0. I'll go ahead and accept that. Okay. And then as I zoom in, it's going to ask me where I want to go. So it's asking me to enter a data point. As I move around, you can see Civil Accudraw is running, but as I move, it doesn't really update the stationing or the offset. So the first time you use this tool when you're in the file, you need to tell it what alignment you're going to base it off of. So while it's in station or even it's in offset, you can tab to one or the other and hit the letter O on your keyboard. So hit O, and it says then select a reference alignment or element. So I'm going to come out here in this new alignment that we just drew a while ago. We're going to go in and left click on it. And then as you move around, you'll notice that the station and offset are now updating. Okay. For this first point, we're going to go back into the point dialog and we're going to go ahead and name it. So right there where it says name, we're going to name it 800 and enter. You can give it a description if you want. It doesn't label the description or anything like that for this particular point, so it really doesn't need a description. And then on our station, we'll move back out, and in our station we'll do 5 plus 0, 0, and we'll hit the enter key. After we enter it and lock it in, as you move around your mouse, you'll notice you're locked in right there at 5. Okay. Our offset, we're going to make that to the right, so it's going to be a positive number. If it was to the left of the alignment, it would be a negative number. So we're going to type in 55 and enter, and then we'll lock that point in right there, 55 foot right at 5 plus 0, 0 in this alignment. Now what I want to do is just left click to accept that, and it's going to say no, okay, I've got that. What rotation do you want? And I've got it locked in over here at north 90, and that's perfectly fine. If you had a different type of symbol that needed to be rotated to the alignment, you could do that. But we will just left click to go ahead and place that there. And now we have that point. If you want to double check and make sure it's good, you can hit F4, hover over that point, and it should say point 800. If you want to look at more information on it, you can get the heads up display on it and get the other information on there that it's offset of 55, 5 plus 0, 0. You can make changes here if you need to. It'll tell you what the elevation is of that point as well. Okay, we've got that one in there. The next point I'm going to put at the PC, also 55 foot. I found another marker there. So that's going to be a 7 plus 33.41. So let's do that. We're going to use the same point tool. Click in here, point. Everything's pretty much the same in here. We're going to change the Kogo point name to 801. So we'll do name 801, enter. Move out on the screen, it says select the terrain model. So I'm going to go ahead and left click on our terrain model. Our offset, we don't want it above or below, we want it right on, so we'll left click to accept that. Now it wants to know where we're going to place it. So our station, you can see it's updating as we go. So we're going to do the 7 plus 33.41, and we'll enter that. Then on the right side, we can move our mouse around, and we're going 55 feet again. So we'll do 55 and enter. Okay, it's got it locked in there. That's where we want it. We'll left click to place it on there, and left click to accept that rotation. Okay, now you've got it listed in there. You can hit F4 to get out. Take a look at that point. 55 feet, 7 plus 33.41 looks good. Look at the information. It's 801. It's got an elevation 737. So we are good to go. Now I'm going to show a different point tool. We've just placed these points by station and offset. I'm going to go in and turn off Civil Accudraw. Let's go turn that off now. And we're going to do a traverse, which is a new tool inside the ORD program. We're going to set up on 801 and we're going to use 800 as our backside, and we're going to go 270 degrees off of that for 1,000 feet. It should land just outside of our terrain model. So let's try and do that. Underneath the point tools, we have locate point. Locate point has the ability to do all kinds of different location points. So you can do a point of intersection, angle resection, points on a curve, radial. The one we're going to talk about in this example is a traverse. So we're going to pick that one. And what we do here is we pick the occupied point where we're going to sit on, and that's going to be this 801. So I'm going to go in the drop down list and pick 801. Our backside point is going to be the 800. So we'll do the 800. Our angle that we're going to come off of this is going to be down 90 degrees basically off of this backside point. So we're going to be at 270. So go ahead and put 270 as our angle. And instead of a distance of 500, we're going to go 1,000 feet. So there may not have been anything in there for you under distance, and that's fine. We'll type in 1,000 and tab down into the next field. Okay. The last part of this is we're going to give it a name. We're going to call this one 802, and we'll enter that. So once you have your dialog filled out like I have it here, your occupied point where you're sitting is 801, backside's 800. We're going to store 802 at 270 degrees based on where we're occupied. So we're going to accept that we're going to do traverse, accept our 270, accept 1,000 feet. It tells you what it's going to draw in there, and it's going to place it just outside of our terrain model, which it does. So it says data point to accept, which is just a left click in a blank area, and it will place that point. Okay. I get my element selection tool, hover over it, you can see it's 802. Look at the properties on that one. This time the elevation is outside of the terrain model, so it doesn't have an elevation applied to it. It doesn't have to have one. But you can modify that point to give it one if you want, which is also one of the newer tools. Underneath the point tools, you have a modify points. And the things you can modify are your elevation and your rotation. So on this one, if you wanted to give it a value, say it was 740, you can type 740 and hit enter on that. And go ahead and accept that you're going to change the value. The elevation 740, so I'm left clicking on these. No change on our rotation, so I'm left clicking and then locate the point. We're going to locate this element, and then it says you can reset to complete if you're done with that, so I'll right click in the blank area. Now if I select this again and look at it, you can see that it gave it that elevation of 740 since it is outside the terrain model. Okay, we have our points laid out in here, and then we're going to lay out a parcel using another new tool, and it should land on those points, what we're going to do. So we're going to lay out a parcel, and that is underneath the geometry tools again. So you're in Survey, Geometry, Horizontal. The new tool is located underneath the complex geometry. So we're going to get the down arrow on that. We're going to go to the tool Geometry Builder. Geometry Builder. We're going to left click on that. That's going to bring up our Geometry Builder tool. It is resizable. You can make it as large as you want. This tool allows us to create parcels, give it a beginning point, and have it actually close the parcel at the end. We can tell it to do that. So the first thing we're going to do is, if you look at the very top up here, we've got some tools. Some are grayed out right now. There's the ability to open a file. So that means you can actually save these files. So when you create the parcel, you can save the parcel out in ProjectWise and then reopen it and place it in another drawing or edit it, however you would like to do it. The save options are not available because we don't have anything going yet. and the removal and copy are not available yet. So what we have to do is add new geometry. So we're going to click on this Add New Geometry, and it puts in New Geometry 1. Let's rename that. All we have to do is single click on it one time, New Geometry 1, and we're going to call this Parcel 1. So I just named it Parcel 1. Inside of here now, all your top options are available. Deleting them out, copying them, saving them are all available. The one thing we want to look at is where we want to begin this. Right now it wants to begin it at 0, 0. Okay, I want to begin it on this point 800. So there's this begin point option here. Just to the left of that's the little plus. Select begin point. So we're going to left click on that. And we're going to come out here, and you should get right over the top of 800, get the golden X, and just left click it. And that sets up your start location X and Y. Okay. The next thing I want to do is I want to take a look at what's going on through here. We're going to be doing bearings, azimuths, directions, counterclockwise if you need to. We're going to be doing ours as bearing, but you could switch it here to azimuth if you needed to. We're going degrees, minutes, and seconds. You can change that as well. U.S. survey feet, for as long as we're doing that, we can continue to work in that. The last option you really want to mess with in here is this one with the ruler. It's create ruled civil elements. We want that turned on. What that allows us to do is label these elements later, and it will actually also give you bearings and distances when you select them. So we're going to turn on that civil ruled feature. Okay. So we have everything kind of set up here that we want. The next thing we do is come into the first line and go ahead and select under the bearing. So it's going to go from this point 800, and we want it to follow that same direction. And you can see up here it's south 66 east. So that's what our bearing here will be. We'll just key in south 66 east, and you can tab over. Okay, we're at station 5 plus 00, and we're going to go to 7 plus 33.41. So that's going to be 233.41 feet. That's your distance, and we'll hit enter on that. Right now these are being drawn in as lines. You can do lines, arcs, or spirals if need be through here. Okay, our next one is going to be 90 degrees off of that. So in our bearings, we're going to go south 24, and it's west. So we're going south 24 west to get to that point. Okay, we can tab in to the next field, and that was 1,000 feet that we put that point in down there. So we're going to do the same thing here, 1,000, and enter that in. You kind of see it's drawing it in for us as we go. This next point, I'm going to go ahead and give that to you. It's going to be due north, and it's going to be 600 feet. So due north is basically just a 0 in here. So it's north 0, 0, 0, 0, and our distance, we'll key in 600 and enter. Okay, for that last one, we don't have to figure out what that distance and direction is. Down here at the very bottom, we have the ability to go back to the beginning point or a fixed point, or just have it not be closed. We're going to go back to the beginning point. And currently there's no line being drawn, so we're going to click on that no line and do an add line. That add line will go ahead and close the shape for us. So this is our parcel that we're creating. So that's the last option we have in there, and then we're going to hit the place option. Place option will go out and draw it in your design file. If you don't hit the place option, you can still save it out, it just won't place it in the drawing. Okay. So we've placed that out there. We can actually close this now. Once we close it, it'll ask us to save the file, and we'll say yes to saving the file. We're going to be putting it in project-wise, so you don't have to show this if you don't want, but it's no wizard. And it should go to our data folder, the folder we're working in. It gives it the drawing number and name. So I'm going to change that from being the land boundary file. I'm going to name that parcel 1. So parcel 1, and it's an XML file. So once you name that parcel 1, we'll say save, and that will put it into ProjectWise for us, and it'll ask us to check it in. So we can go ahead and check it in. That closes our window out. If you wanted to reopen that at some other time or even in a different file, you can still go right back up here to the Complex by Element Tools and go down to Geometry Builder. And you can see that it's in there, but if you go to the Open File opens it up, and let's go to our folder that we're working in, which is our Training Sandbox. I was working in the SW folder, projects. So we're going to go down to where your project is currently. And we'll look in data, and we should see our parcel 1 is located in there. And you can just open that up, and it has all the information that we have created. Go ahead and close that out, and we already placed that in here, so we're good to go. If you left click on it, you'll see it's got all the information in there that we had placed, and this is the distance direction it took to close that parcel. So now we need to turn that into a parcel so that the program knows what it is. So we're going to left click on it. We'll get the heads up display on it, and that first option in there is the properties. We'll take a look at the properties. The feature name is parcel 1, so that's good, but our feature definition doesn't know what it is. So we're going to change that no feature definition. We're going to get the down arrow on that. We'll go to linear, design, and then we're going to go under right of way, which is where this is located, right of way. And at the very top of right of way, there's a parcels option. So we'll click parcels, and you can tell it that this is a new parcel or an existing. So we'll just do an existing property line that's out there. Okay, now if you left click in a blank area, it unselects it, and you can see you've got your parcel. So the next portion of this is going to be creating the text or the labels for this parcel. So under the survey option up here at the top, we're going to slide over to drawing production. So these are new tools also in ORD, the Civil Labeler. We want that. We'll left click on it. That will open up the Civil Labeler tool. You'll have to wait for a second on that one. This tool loads some information into the background, so when you first click on it, you're not able to do anything until it loads. And once it loads, it'll have this little plus next to Civil Labels. So we'll expand that out. Now it depends on what you're doing. If you're labeling cross sections, we have some cross section ones created. If you're doing drainage, same thing, we've got some drainage ones. Plan in general, we're looking at the beginning and ending project, at centerline construction. Plan linear, that's the one we're going to look at to label this parcel, but you can also do plan points and get some northings, eastings, stationings, and so forth. There is a plan survey out here as well. Allows you to label some of the points as long as they are actual survey points, and we'll label them and get the description and so forth. And with the profile, you can label the stop site distance, you can label stationing, elevation. What we want to take a look at is we're going to expand out this plan linear, and there's several ones in here that we can look at. Let's look at the name one first. So if we go to plan linear and slide all the way down to where it says name, we're going to click on that. Now your rotation may be set at vertical, which would make it run basically north and south through here, your label. We're going to change that to horizontal. Okay, with the name option here, all we have to do is come over and hit this place option. And then when you come out on the screen, it asks you what do you want to take a look at? What geometry are you trying to label? So we're going to be labeling the parcel. So we're just going to left click on the parcel, and then we're going to come to the middle of the parcel and just left click again. So that labels it that parcel 1. The next thing we want to label is our bearing and length. So we can go to that linear, bearing and length, click on it one time, and you can see the rotation is going to be tangent to the item we select. So we're going to go to the place option, and we're just going to go and basically go where the snap points are on each one of the legs of this parcel, and it will put that information on there. Okay, there's lots of different ones you can take a look at. If you wanted to look at the planned points, we can do that one. We can do northing and easting name, or the elevation even. So here's a coordinates northing, easting, name, elevation. It'll be horizontal, which is what we want. We can place. Let's take a look at this point down here at the bottom. Move that out, locate it, it gives you the information for those points. Okay, that one, I grabbed the parcel instead of the point, so you have to be careful of what you're selecting there. Okay. Alright, and if you didn't want one of those, you can delete them out. If you need to move them around, you can just grab them and move them, and the leader will follow with it. Okay, the last thing we'll take a look at, I'm going to go ahead and close the Civil Labeler tool. And the last thing we'll look at is a report. Reports are pretty nice inside of here, so what we'll do with the report is we will left click on our parcel. We'll get the reports tool from the heads up. This is easier to get it from the heads up. If you pick it from the tools at the top, there's a lot more you have to try and click on and accept and all that. So in this one, we'll just do it from the heads up of the parcel. We'll grab the horizontal geometry report, and that's going to come in and give you start stations and all that. Now that's not exactly what we're looking for. So over here on the left, we have all kinds of different reports. So we'll close out civil geometry there, and we'll go down to this legal description. Depending on which one you select, will show the different information on the right. So if we click on that very first one, you'll see it does give some information, but as you go down through it, you're going to start getting more and more information until you get to the second to last one, which is the property description long names, which gets you more used to what you're trying to look for. It's going to have the beginning point and then the direction and everything to close that back to the point of the beginning. So this will get you a good start. You can also export this to different formats, or you can even highlight it and copy and paste it into another program. It just depends on what's installed on your machine. So that concludes the parcel creation and some of the new tools in ORD for this exercise.